Join me for the day as we are filling the freezer with recipes that are nearly 100 years old. These are all from the Great Depression. They were meant to make your grocery budget stretch, to use simple ingredients, fresh from the garden and straight from the pantry. They're wholesome, they're classic, and I'm excited to share them with you today. After a long morning of working in the hot garden, there's nothing that I look forward to more than an icy glass of an Element drink. I have one of these drinks every single day throughout the entire year, and I want to thank Element for sponsoring today's video. But even if it wasn't sponsored, I would still be having one of these drinks every day because I love what it's doing for my body. The ingredients in these drinks are fabulous. There's no sugar, no food coloring, no added preservatives, and you get a balanced serving of magnesium, potassium, and sodium. I can't believe what these minerals are actually doing for my body and helping me feel energized, hydrated, and keeping me headache free. And right now, since we are in just the thick of the hot, humid summers here in Missouri, I don't think I could go a day without them. Some of my favorite summer flavors are watermelon, grapefruit, lemonade, citrus, and raspberry. With so many delicious flavors that they offer, you're gonna wanna try them all. But what you can do is follow my link that's here on the screen and in the description box below. And if you order anything on their website, when you order anything on their website, they're actually going to gift you a free sample pack with their most popular flavors. I know you guys are absolutely gonna love what Element can do for you and keeping you hydrated, giving you the energy you need, restoring those minerals that you've lost throughout your hard work, throughout your day. I know you guys are going to love them, so head on over to the link in the description box and go and order yourself an Element drink today. If you're new here, welcome. Here we are restoring home, family, and spirit through tried and true homemaking skills. And we are not pretending like we live in the olden days by any means, but I do love turning my mind over to the ways of the past and studying up old cookbooks, learning how my grandmother and great-grandmother would have been cooking, making food out of their pantry, and using up the produce in their little farm gardens. And that's what we're sharing with you guys here on the channel. And today I've really been enjoying this cookbook called Stories and Recipes of the Great Depression of the 1930s by Rita Van Amber. I recently shared a video of just breakfasts from this recipe book. And since the summer season is coming to an end and we are approaching the back to school season, I thought it would be great to fill up the freezer with some dinners. So there's nothing more classic than a casserole. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is making up a bunch of casseroles from this cookbook. But a lot of these recipes call for lard and bacon fat, and today I'm going to be using beef tallow. That's what I have in my freezer. I've rendered it myself, but I'm also going to start by cooking up some bacon here so that we can use some of that. And what doesn't taste delicious with bacon on it? I never cease to be amazed by what these homemakers did and were capable of in this era. I mean, they were canning the weeds outside just to make it through the winter. Overall, they used what they had, and they made what they had go as far as they could. This first recipe is called Wild Rice Venison Casserole. And although this is not venison season for us, we're not quite there yet. We'll be harvesting venison on our property come this fall. I am using chicken for this recipe today. I thought it was really cute, the note that they made in this recipe referring to wild rice and how it was cheaper than the other varieties of rice at the time because it was much hardier and sturdier throughout the drought. You'll be able to find the recipes for this video down below in the description box, that little box below the video. But this recipe starts out by covering the meat in flour and salt and pepper, and then browning it in a skillet with bacon grease. Then the ingredients call for chopped onion, minced garlic, some canned tomatoes, green peppers, which we've got lots coming out of the garden, salt and pepper, curry powder and chili powder, and of course the wild rice. And I think that the curry powder and chili powder were probably the more exciting spices of the time. It does seem to be a theme that the recipes of this era were not super flavorful. They didn't have tons of spices. So feel free to add in as much spices and other ingredients that suits you. Freezer meal marathons aren't something that I do on a regular basis, but they're definitely something I do seasonally or according to the circumstance. Like bringing a new baby into the home, I do like to have my freezer stocked up. We're just about ready to start school. I thought it would be great to have some backup meals just to give me a head start for the busy days to come. But I also found it amazingly convenient. Just recently, I have a neighbor and her husband became very ill. He had to go into the hospital, and it was so nice to run over a couple of freezer meals this week. So I thought that was such a blessing. Another thing was that our AC cut out during our heat wave that we were having this week. We actually ended up going and staying over at a friend's house, and I was able to bring a freezer meal with me and bake that up on a Sunday evening without having to cook anything. I was able to share it with my friends. And so these freezer meals sure came in handy in a pinch. Some ingredients definitely do better in freezer meals than others. And when I think of things that are great for putting in the freezer, I'm thinking of pastas and beans. I'm thinking of soups and chilies and pasta bakes. So the next thing that we're going to be putting together is a baked macaroni with tomatoes. Tomatoes were obviously a staple in the pantry 100 years ago, and they are an obvious staple in today's pantry as well. I did kind of spruce up this recipe a little bit. It did call for buttered crumbs to go on top, so I just smashed up some Ritz crackers that I had in the pantry, and I think it would have been better to not have toasted them prior to putting them on the casserole because they're going to toast off in the oven anyway, so save yourself a step. Don't toast them on the stove beforehand. They're going to get toasty when they're being baked off. So this recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of melted bacon fat, if you can imagine that, a half a teaspoon of salt, 1 can of tomatoes, and 2 cups of cooked macaroni. And so I needed to add a little bit more to this. That was a little plain for us. And so I'm adding about 1/4 to half a cup of flour to the pasta with some granulated garlic powder and onion powder for flavor, salt and pepper. I'm going to toss all of this around the noodles. And that way, when we pour in the milk and it's baking, it will get nice and thick and creamy. Here goes the bacon grease. That's also going to add a lot of flavor to it. The tomatoes. And of course, I'm going to be adding some shredded cheddar cheese. So it's more of a baked macaroni and cheese with tomatoes. When you're thinking of freezer meals that you want to put up for your family, try to think of things that you know that they will love and they'll love to eat. There's nothing worse than packing your freezer full of food that nobody likes, that nobody wants to eat. And frankly, those are the things that just get left in the freezer and they stay there for like 2 years. So make sure that when you're thinking of these recipes, you're thinking of things that your family really would love to eat. For us, baked macaroni and cheese covered with bacon is going to be a win every time. In fact, making up macaroni and cheese from scratch is something that we make on the regular for lunches in between homeschool. Hamburger is a great thing for making freezer meals, and I think even just sauteing up a bunch of hamburger, a few pounds of hamburger, seasoning it, and even putting it away in a gallon freezer bag in the freezer is a great idea for just being able to pull out hamburger, thaw it out, it's already cooked, it's ready to go, and you can put it in all sorts of different soups, casseroles, recipes, have it for tacos. That's a great thing to have stored away. But for this next recipe, we're going to make layered garden casserole. And honestly, I think I was drawn to this recipe just because of the name of it. Right now, it's garden season. And so all of these potatoes are right from our garden, the onions. And you could add whatever is coming out of your garden. There is not a whole lot to this recipe. They're really just layering potato, onion rings. They're adding rice to it. It calls for peas, hamburgers, and can you guess what next? Of course, some tomatoes, a can of tomatoes, and some bacon. So I think that green beans or carrots, whatever you can think of or whatever you have on hand would also
fit nicely into this. We added some carrots, peas, and some corn to this as well. And I think that this recipe could use a little bit more exciting seasoning to spice it up a little bit. But it's very simple. And when I think of a classic American mid-century casserole, this is definitely the type of thing that comes to mind. And if you want to make your life so much easier, go ahead and pick up a mandolin. I just got this, and I'm pretty sure they didn't have this exact mandolin back in the day. They probably had something else, but it did make chopping up all of these potatoes so convenient. This recipe that I'm putting together is called Country Ham and Potato Supper. Doesn't that just sound so cozy, homey, and comforting? This is something that I'm definitely going to pull out on maybe a cool September day, throw in the oven when we have been finishing up schoolwork or doing whatever, and it's going to be awfully comforting. This recipe is really just layered potato, hams, you're sprinkling flour, salt, and pepper in between, onion and butter, and topping it off with some milk. So that will bubble and thicken as it bakes. This last recipe I'm going to share with you is by Cecile Johnson from Wisconsin. It's just this little paragraph in here. It's not really written as a full recipe, but she says it's something that her mother used to always make, and it sounded delicious. She says to cook the noodles until tender and drain and rinse. Melt half a cup of margarine, we're using butter, and add 1 tablespoon of flour, 1 teaspoon salt, and 1/4 a teaspoon of pepper. Stir well. Add 2 cups of cold milk slowly and stir till smooth. Alternate noodles, gravy, and 3 cups of diced chicken, adding a cup of raw celery if desired, and bake in 350 degrees oven for 1 hour. And then she goes on to talk about how her mother was very innovative. And one meal she still enjoys is steamed smothered cabbage, to which they added cooked elbow macaroni. So what really added a lot of flavor to this dish was how I cooked up the chicken and browned it. I added lots of seasoning to this and herbs. I have a couple of spices that I love from Trader Joe's, so I added their green goddess, lots of garlic and onion powder, salt and pepper. And the chicken tasted amazing, which means the whole dish is going to taste amazing. I love how simple it is with just adding some chopped celery to the top. I poured in the milk are the gravy, and I did add even a little bit more. This dish, after having eaten it already, definitely needs more than 1 tablespoon of flour. I would go with 1/4 a cup of flour if you really want a creamy pasta. It was a little bit soupy, and my daughter even said that it tasted like a chicken noodle soup, but really without all of the soup juice, without all the broth. This was a very, very tasty meal, and I'm definitely going to repeat this one. I topped it off with Parmesan cheese. What I learned from making all these meals is that dinner can really be just that simple. It can be practical, wholesome, and healthy, just using what you have in the pantry, putting it all together for dinner time. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, got some good ideas, good recipes. I do make a video each Monday. I hope to see you all next week, and I would even love to hear what your favorite back to school recipes are or casseroles down in the comments below. And I'll see you next week. Love you lots.